leaders from social justice organizations, and our own members to be voices of hope, courage, and spiritual or intellectual transformation from our pulpit. Our worship leader today is Reverend Sara Green. Please rise in body or spirit and join me as we read our call to awareness and amends and our chalice lighting. You'll find the call to awareness and amends at the back cover of your gray hymnal. I will read the text in the regular font, and you'll respond with the italicized text. We gather today at a crossroads, the place of many tongues. But we are newcomers to this land. Know that we gather the spoils of colonialism and broken treaties. Acknowledging this history is just the first step. Where we have harmed, where we have taken, where we have disparaged, just as the flame of our chalice, we add life-giving water to earth. Only when we strive to make amends, please remain as you are as we light the chalice of our heritage, and join me in reading the words that you will find in your order of service. To face the world's shadows, a chalice of light. To face the world's coldness, a chalice of warmth. To face the world's terrors, a chalice of courage. To face the world's turmoil, a chalice of peace. May its glow fill our spirits, our hearts, and our lives. Please remain as you are for our opening hymn, number 83, found in your gray hymnal.
Winds be still, storm clouds pass and silence come. Peace grace this time with harmony. Fly, bird of hope, and shine, love, light of love, and calm, let all find tranquility. Birds fly high, lift our gaze o'er distant view, help us to sense life's mystery. Fly high and far and lead us each to see how we move through the winds of eternity. Light shining, illuminate our inward view, help us to see with clarity. Shine bright and true, so we may join our songs in you that become full symphony.
Good morning. Happy Mother's Day to all. So nice to see so many faces here today. I know it's a busy day and people got brunch plans and stuff they gotta eat and flowers they gotta look at and stuff. Before we do that, I'd love for people young at heart, to join me on the carpet circles for a story. We got one of my favorite young ones here, Mr. Zaid. You got your own chair, that's cool. Someone to push you around. That's nice. Hello, hi. Hi. So today, I have a story, because I was thinking about the theme and talking to Sarah, and I was like, honesty. That was the prompt she gave me, was honesty. And I love the puzzle of trying to figure out what the time for all ages story is going to be. It's one of my favorite parts of my job. And I was thinking, I was like, you know how you be honest with yourself is to become familiar with your feelings. Because feelings are, does anybody think that feelings are easy? Anybody? No? Okay. Does anyone think that feelings are hard? Yeah? Feelings are hard. Feelings are hard. But the more we let them in and learn about them, they can teach us so much about ourselves. So this is a story about that. Visiting feelings. Do you have a feeling that's visiting today? Can you open your door and invite it to play? Can you ask what it wants and then check it out? Welcome it, listen to it. What's it about? What if the feelings play hide and go seek and won't let you see it, not even a peek? Here's an idea, a good one to try. Look at that feeling with wide open eyes. How does it look? Is it short? Is it tall? Is it thick or is it thin? Is it round like a ball? Is it bright like the sun, dark like the rain? Or is it a look you can't even explain? How does it feel? Is it light as a cloud, floating on air, or heavy and huge like a grizzly bear? Rawr. Does anybody ever have a grizzly bear kind of feeling? Feeling feels like a grizzly bear? Yeah, lots of, oh yeah. Lots of nods in there. Is it soft like your mom when she whispers goodnight? Or loud like a baby who fusses and fights? Does anybody have feelings that are fussy like a baby? Didn't see as many nods as I thought I would, but I think y'all are just pretending like it's not true. Is it sharp like stepping on stones with bare feet? Or smooth like ice cream, your favorite treat? Yeah, I got a nod for that one. Is it warm or cold, sour or sweet? Does it shiver with fear when the two of you meet? Also, how do I get my feelings to shiver at fear upon meeting me instead of the other way around? You know? Is there like a class or... How did this feeling enter your house? Did it barge right in, or was it shy like a mouse? Yeah, shy like a mouse. Jerry says shy. Did it rumble and grumble like a thunderstorm blast, or was it quick as a hummingbird darting around fast? I don't know. And where is the feeling settled inside? In your stomach, low down, or in your throat, up high? If you listen to what your body can say, you'll find that your feelings are really okay. With a bit of attention, a little more care, they might even tell you just why they are there. Some feelings are tough, and some are more fun. Now, are you ready for the next one? Are you? Who's ready? Who's ready? All right. Thanks, Fia. Fia's always ready. So whenever a feeling comes by to play, welcome it in and let it stay for as long as it likes, or a minute or two. Treat your feelings like friends who are talking to you. So, hope everyone will enjoy visiting with their feelings a little more.
I invite you now to take a moment to finish arriving. I'm not sure about you, but I feel like I have been in a million different worlds this week. So as we arrive at this one, I invite you to feel your feet firmly planted on the ground. Maybe soften your gaze or close your eyes. I invite you to take a survey of all the feelings that you felt this week, to recount all that you traversed, all that you faced head on, all that you saved for this week. Send some breath to those feelings. I invite you to then contemplate where those feelings are landing in your body. Are the happy moments living in your hands? Are the moments when you were scared living in your belly? Is there tension living in your calves? Send breath there. Send breath of presence there. Send breath of release to those parts. Join me as we spend a couple of more moments breathing in silence, letting all of the breaths and the feelings intermingle and dance and work our way through us so that we're able to be more present, just a little more present today. More still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing in dark and rain, sorrow and pain, still you remain, singing, calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years, singing.
Please join me as we read our responsive reading found in your order of worship. I'll read the regular font and you'll respond with the italicized text. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it or fade it or fix it. It doesn't interest me if the story you are telling me is true. If you can be faithless and therefore trustworthy. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand at the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the full moon, yes. I want to know if you can get up after the night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done to feed the children. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Mother's Day to all who celebrate. And for those who don't, my plan is to make this day a place of departure, but not really to set up a residence here. I want to talk about mothering as something anyone, regardless of gender, can do. So I invite you to think about all the people that have mothered you. Of course, we think mothering is about care, nurturing. Some mistake that for coddling, other things, lots of interpretations. But I want to talk this morning about the care that is in practice when we practice honesty. I love honesty being a meeting place to talk about mothering because I'd be willing to bet everyone in here has had to make some pretty hard decisions about how honest they want to be with themselves about this day, about how they think about mothering, whether that's being mothered or mothering others, not being mothered. Everyone has made a decision about how they're going to walk through this day, how they're going to move through this day, based on how honest they want to be, how much of the story they actually want to tell. In other words, some of us have to be honest with ourselves that our mothers were and continue to be extremely complex humans before and after we entered into their lives, that they were not, in fact, totally consumed by us, as some tropes would have us believe was right. Some of us have had to be honest with ourselves that mothering others is the hardest thing we have ever done. And perhaps we hold deep grief about the parts of us that are no longer allowed, as some tropes would have us believe. Some of us have to be honest about the ways we were forced to mother ourselves when no one else would. All of those journeys take a great deal of bravery and honesty. This is not my first Mother's Day sermon, and in fact, the first one that I preached was right after I became a parent through foster care and adoption. I had to make some decisions about how I was going to show up as a parent to someone that I had just met who was turning 15. Choices. So I guess what I'm saying is that the concept of mothering invites us into a practice of honesty because of the layers and layers that we inherit of meaning, and put that against our own experience and truth. The good news is that, like all good things in the world, Mother's Day began with a Unitarian. In 1870, Julia Ward Howe wrote what she called the Appeal to Womanhood Throughout the World. They later changed it to the Mother's Day Proclamation. It's a powerful call to action. Some would say this letter is speaking truth to power. And sort of as a ritual, I'd like to read two parts of the speech as we begin this morning. And as a reminder, Unitarians were Christians, and so have your own feelings about that if you would like. And that's sort of the context that she's writing on. Again, in the sight of the Christian world, have the skill and power of two great nations exhausted themselves in mutual murder. Again, have the sacred questions of international justice been committed to the fatal mediation of military weapons. In this day of progress, in this century of light, the ambition of rulers have been allowed to barter the dear interests of domestic life for the bloody exchanges of the battlefield. Thus men have done, thus men will do, but women need no longer be made a party to proceedings which fill the globe with grief and horror. Despite the assumptions of physical force, the mother has a sacred and commanding word to say to the sons who owe their life to her suffering. That word should now be heard and answered to as never before. Arise, then, Christian women of this day, arise, all the women who have hearts, whether your baptism be that of water or of tears. Say firmly, we will not have the great questions decided by irrelevant agencies. Our husbands shall not come to us reeking with carnage for caresses and applause. Our sons shall not be taken from us to unlearn all that we have been able to teach them of charity, mercy, and patience. We, women of one country, will be too tender of those of another country, to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs. From the bosom of the devastated earth, a voice goes up with our own. It says, disarm, disarm. The sword of murder is not the balance of justice. Blood does not wipe out dishonor, nor violence vindicate possession. As men have often forsaken the plow and the anvil at the summons of war, let women now leave all that may be left of the home for a great and earnest day of counsel. More than 200 years later, its relevance is eerie. More than 200 years later, it still implores us to practice honesty. What I love even more than this piece existing in the first place as sort of a powerhouse is knowing that Julia is part of a legacy of powerful women speaking truth to power. The First Lady of Gospel Music, Shirley Caesar, picks up this thread with her call to action song. It goes like this. Satan, we're gonna tear your kingdom down. Satan, we're gonna tear your kingdom down. You've been building your kingdom all across this land. Satan, we're gonna tear your kingdom down. She's talking about, in her context, evil in the world, knowing it, seeing it, and taking action. Of course, UUs have been hesitant to talk about evil existing in the world, but I don't think our coyness and hesitancy is always that helpful. In fact, it's confusing. It's disorienting to see billions of our tax dollars being sent while news of literal torture chambers at Sede Temen get uncovered. It's depressing to try to convince ourselves that all of this going on is normal, and yet we're supposed to carry on with business as usual. It's maddening when we can't be honest about all the things we're seeing and experiencing. In about a month, our association will vote on approving the new language for Article 2 in our bylaws, which articulates our values and commitments with love at the center. The values that we'll likely approve, who knows, are interdependence, justice, equity, generosity, pluralism, and transformation, affectionately becoming known as JetPig. I know. Controversial. Look it up. It's at least entertaining. I think all of these are lovely, and I think love does belong at the center, but I think it's missing something. And, no one asked me directly, but I think it's missing honesty. Honesty challenges us to go deeper, to do more than perform transformation and equity. It challenges us to take different risks, to ask how we are implicated. Down at the Good Church First Grace and the young adult group, I've been working through the 12-step program in relation to recovery from all the systems of oppression, regardless of behavior or symptoms that those systems manifest and sort of contort us to. So recovery, broadly speaking. Last month was step 4, to make a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Apparently, it's by far the hardest step, and many people never complete it because of that honesty piece that we're not used to practicing, that's not celebrated. In fact, we do a lot better in some situations when we're not honest. Step 4 asks us about how we are implicated and complicit in our own destruction and in harm done to others. What part do we play in our own resentments and fears? And in this sort of systemic way that I'm interacting with these 12 steps, how have we been tools in the machines of patriarchy, colonialism? How have we intentionally or unintentionally fed, funded the war machine? And can we genuinely be with the answers? Can we look at the endowment report? Oops, said that. Cut that out. Just kidding. And can we understand this as a practice of mothering ourselves and the generations ahead? One of the mothers that I've been looking up to lately is Audre Lorde. I watched a documentary about her life and her work and death where I learned more about her journey as a parent. It was clear to me that she raised her kids to value and practice the sort of honesty that we're talking about here, not only because we want our children to be good humans, but because what's at stake is our liberation. It's honesty that rests on a bedrock of a power analysis at the very least. In the cancer journals, which she wrote as she was dying, she gives us this questionnaire, which almost reads more like an unfortunate truth or dare game where we're likely to always choose the dare. Here are the questions. Number 1, what are the words you do not have yet? Number 2, what do you need to say? Number 3, what are the tyrannies you swallow day by day and attempt to make your own until you will sicken and die of them, still in silence? Number 4, if we have been socialized to respect fear more than our own need for language and definition, ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen to me if I tell this truth? You're thinking about choosing the dare, aren't you? It sounds a little bit like the thread of Asada Shakur when she implored us to chant, "We have nothing to lose but our chains." It sounds like the opening line of Salt Eaters by Toni Cade Bambara, where she writes, "Are you sure, sweetheart, that you want to be well? Just so you sure, sweetheart, and ready to be healed, because wholeness is no trifling matter. A lot of weight when you're well." I find myself in need of this type of mothering this year, the serious and consequential questions, the urgent and somber questions, the wholehearted and determined questions that come from love. The end of Julia Ward Howe's appeal to womanhood takes that serious labor of honesty and gives it some more shape and direction. She says, let them meet first as women to bewail and commemorate the dead. Let them then solemnly take counsel with each other as to the means whereby the great human family can live in peace, man as brother as man, each bearing after his own kind the sacred impress, not of Caesar, but of God. Friends, we are so implicated in so much evil happening in the world. There are so many truths to tell while we pay the bills, while we're being good friends, while we're volunteering on the committee, while there's a moving sale, while we're mothering, while the taxes are late. We must make room for grief. She's asking us to understand student protests as wailing and commemorating the dead. She's asking us to wail ourselves, to shout and cry and shake. Both Julia and Audre are asking us to tell the truth about power, about the evils of colonialism and its sick theologies of manifest destiny. And then she's asking us to find each other, to show up for each other, to show up for the students, faculty and staff, to practice mutual aid, to show up for truths we are ready to tell, and to gather the courage in community to tell even more. Through this lens, may we mother ourselves and each other into more bravery, more truth-telling, more care, more honesty, and more love. May it be so. Amen and ashe.
Generosity is a spiritual discipline. We can now practice our act of giving either by placing your offering in the collection plate or by texting GIVE to 504-608-7030. Gifts to this community of faith are gratefully received. Let us acknowledge these gifts by reading together the words in your order of service. This gift from the abundance of my life blesses me, our ministries, and the world. Giving in the offering plate and pledging are part of how we steward this congregation. There are countless other ways to serve, build community, and share our love with the rest of the city. Here are a few opportunities coming up. Moving sale this Friday and Saturday. Ann McLean will be in the back after the service for folks to sign up and also get some flyers to help spread the word. And also we have a congregational meeting coming up next Sunday at noon, and more details will be shared this week. And we have Justin Wolf with a spotlight announcement. Nope, it's just you.
This isn't quite a traditional spotlight announcement, and it is in part for Mother's Day. As I think some of you know, our friend Kirsta Kurtz-Burke 3 months ago ended her life after many years of struggle against Klonopin addiction. Kirsta was one of the most amazing people I have ever known. She was a doctor at Charity Hospital for 6 days after Katrina, who stayed to ensure that all of her patients lived, even those that needed to be hand ventilated by them. She worked in prisons during the early part of COVID to treat prisoners who were not receiving any treatment. She was just an amazing person, and this is the first Mother's Day that she is not present with us, with her family. And I've thought a lot about her for a long time, and I realized that she lived her life as if every person she encountered might be her own child. I mean, she treated everyone that way. Anyway, today for Mother's Day, Hannah DeVere Smith, famous playwright and actor, is going to be at the National Gallery giving a lecture on the fine arts, in which she's going to reprise her telling of Kirsta's story from her series called Let Me Down Easy. So it's to honor Kirsta today, but also to, I think, lift up that kind of love and bravery on Mother's Day. And it's being done as a hybrid event, so it's available online at 1 p.m. today. And if you're interested in it, come see me afterwards and I'll give you the link to it. But I just wanted to give that shout out for Kirsta. Thank you.
Please rise in body or spirit and join in our chalice extinguishing, which is in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And please remain as you are for our closing hymn, number 1074, found in your teal hymnal.
From the fire, turn the world around. Come from the water, living in the water. We come from the water, turn the world around. Come from the mountain, living in the mountain. We come to the mountain, turn the world around. So is life. So is life. is life. So is life. So is life. Wow, we did it. That is so tricky. All right. So another woman picking up the threads, Marge Piercy, for our benediction. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who stand in the line and haul in their places, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire must be put out. The work of the world is common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing well has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real. Please turn and greet your neighbors.
What was that piece about the student protest wailing? It was good, but what was after that? It hit.
That we need to wail ourselves.
Maybe that part. Well, what's up? Well,
Have you wailed lately?
all the time.
Did you know there's Wendy's doing a community sing today?